Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. Zooming in on really the topic of quantum healing when it comes to really resolving the issues and healing after narcissistic abuse. And really the model of quantum healing is based on the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. It's extremely powerful, extremely interesting, and really revolutionary, and that is what I wish to share with you here in this video. And when we talk about really healing beyond narcissistic abuse, there is so much really in terms of trying to understand the narcissist, understanding their behavioral traits, understanding their personality, understanding really how they have abused. And really that is very important to the awareness of acknowledging that. However, what I really want to focus on in this channel is focusing on healing you. We can discuss the narcissist. We can discuss their transgressions. We can, consistently discuss the harm that they've done. And I really do want that to be a part of this channel because I think it's important to processing. But realize that one key factor of life is to realize that, what you focus on grows. So if you, continue to focus on the narcissist, if you continue to focus on the psychopath, if you continue to focus on them, their basically experience within your life is going to grow. Their presence within your life is going to grow. Your awareness of them is going to grow. And it's very important to really kind of turn that around and begin now to also focus on yourself. Focus on your healing. Find where that is, what that experience is, and begin to experience that so that you truly do heal and you're not just, focusing on the narcissist and living in the past. So the quantum model of healing really is this. The quantum healing model is basically understanding that the feeling is going to precede the experience. So it's very important to get into a state of wholeness, oneness, and unity within yourself in order to truly heal. So when we talk about individuation, when we talk about separating, when we talk about being your own person, when we talk about having your own identity as separate from the narcissist, that is where we really want to kind of begin, take off, launch, and explode from. That's really where we want to propel from. That's where we really want to begin and then thrust forward. And the issue with the narcissist and that sort of perpetual cycle of abuse is because we've in essence been attached to them. We've had a traumatic bond to them. It hasn't been a relationship where we've been able to be one person and living our truth, living our validity, living our oneness, living our joy, living our bliss, living our positivity, and having that self-belief, that self-trust, and having that direct and navigate our life. Those who have been abused by a narcissist or a psychopath essentially have lived in a traumatic bond, in attachment. They've been merely an extension of them. So you've constantly had to mirror them. You've had to support them. You've had to be a supply to them. You've had to live in reaction to them. You have had to, in essence, be a part of them and constantly becoming an identity that is what they have wanted for yourself, which is not a true identity. You have been created in a traumatic bond, which keeps you there, but keeps you living in a state of pain, a state of struggle, a state of anxiety, a state of depression, because it's really counterintuitive to your true self. You haven't been permitted to have that identity, or what we call individuation, really your own self. You haven't been able to be mirrored your own interests, your own needs, your own wants. So you have really what is called an attachment bond. So we discuss really what is called individuation, or becoming your own self, having your own identity, and not the identity of someone as it relates to this narcissist, which essentially is a victim mentality, a victim identity. We discuss here in this channel how important it is to create those boundaries and really experience your own identity, that you are not all the lies, the insulted self, the shamed self that this narcissist would have you believe. You are your own person, which is your own identity, which is not a victim. You are your own person, and it's that sense and experience of wholeness and being your own person, not as defined by the narcissist, that is so important. And we're going to work on this again and again, because some people can get this right away. Sometimes it takes a number of days. Sometimes it takes people a number of months. Sometimes it takes people a number of years to really realize that they are their own identity and not the identity that the narcissist had projected onto them. They are their own person. They are their own wholeness. They have their own values. They have their own needs. They have their own bliss. They have their own talents. They have their own happiness. They have their own joy, and they have their own connection to life, which is free of shame, which is free of blame, which is free of hatred, which is free of jealousy, which is free of anger, which is free of reaction to this narcissist abuse. And that's why it's important to realize that this chronic being around them, you really do need to go no contact, or oftentimes really understand that, so you can begin that awareness of being independent of that. And it's that awareness of being independent that is so crucial to getting really what is called individuation, or a state of wholeness. So you're not feeling divided. You're not feeling, in constant sort of struggle. You release that feeling of struggle. In fact, you actually release struggle from your vocabulary. It's no longer part of how you operate. And really, when you really realize this, the mind itself is working on a number of different brain waves, and the body itself is also operating on a number of different brain waves. So that feeling has, in the quantum model, the feeling of being whole, the feeling of being free, the feeling of being safe, the feeling of being happy, the feeling of experiencing bliss, the feeling of experiencing joy, the feeling of owning your own perspective, free of guilt, free of hostility, free of yelling, free of all that aloof behavior that made you question and doubt and kept you working so hard to help this person, all this codependent behaviors. So that feeling of being your own person, of being safe, of not reacting, has to be felt before it can be experienced and really sort of articulated within the mind, and then the attitude, and then the thoughts, and then the experiences. So that experience of gratitude, of being your own person and having personal empowerment, is so crucial, and to developing that and living in that space and embracing that space and carrying it with you in all of your interactions is so very crucial. And because that feeling, that clarity, is going to allow you to see the abuse for what it is. It's giving you the clarity to really see that manipulation tactic for what it is. And that clarity is going to give you the ability to really comprehend and know on a deep, spiritual, and unconscious level that you are not the abused. The abuser is going to perpetuate that. But as soon as you can claim your identity and your oneness, the fact that you are a person and that you are separate from them, and you are not all that they make you out to be. You are not all the hostility. You are not all their reaction. You are not living in shame. You do not have issues. Your true self is not what they pretend you to be. When you really grasp that and understand that begins to then flood your body with the experience of feeling that you are independent and that you are free of the abuse. You are free of the abuser, and you're no longer living in that mind-body connection to them. You are your own person, and that's how it should have been from the beginning. That is personal empowerment. That's where you should be existing from. That's where you should be living from. And as you begin to feel that and acknowledge that and give that to yourself and maintain that feeling, that is what's going to really carry you through to your true personal healing and empowerment. And we are first really greatly in touch with this when we first awake. It's those really slower brain wave experiences of being what's in our brain state. We're actually in a slower brain state. So when you dream, when you daydream, when you have an imagination, you have a vision, that is the delta and then the theta brain waves. And that is existing within yourself. And it's not about living in reaction to what's going on in the world around you. It's your true inner reality. It's your true inner being. It's your true inner peace. And so when you talk about, your dreams and what you truly want for yourself, the experience, it's individual and unique for each person. Some people might dream of riding a horse, or dream of traveling, or dream of helping animals or being close to animals. And, some people might dream of painting or being an artist or being a writer. They might just dream of being free and being at peace, that is enough for them. So each person has their own inner dream, their own inner desire that has really been muffled or suffocated from abuse, and suffocated and denied them from a reality that caused them to constantly be in reaction and be codependent and living constantly to serve somebody and deny their own feeling of peace. They have lived in this chronic stress. So when you are able to really live in that internal feeling of independence and living, knowing that you are meant to be something more, you're meant to have something more, and you're meant to feel something more, it's really acknowledging that and then living in that and then fostering that, keeping that going on that daily basis, on that continual basis, that's going to bring you that true healing experience. That has to be felt, though. It has to be felt first. And then really everything kind of then falls into groove. So those thoughts, your thoughts then begin to perpetuate and foster that inner healing for yourself. Your thoughts then begin to resonate and create your beliefs. So you're believing that I am okay really comes from that feeling and that knowledge. And then it begins to direct your behavior. So in other words, that no contact that you're trying to struggle with, it becomes very clear that is what you have to do. So you no longer live in that self-doubt, that wondering what I should do, that fear of, is this right? That questioning, are you sure that I should be doing this? It then begins to become an automatic. It becomes to come from your unconscious, which is the seat of your personal power and your self-belief. Once you're no longer caught up in that analysis and wondering, is this the right thing to do? People tend to spend years in that mind state, struggling on the fence of what I should do. They're living in that self-doubt, and really that's really being on the fence. That's living in a state of struggle, a state of denial, in a state of separation from their true peace and their true reality. And the sooner you can shorten that experience and live closer and in tune with your personal truth, and owning that and feeling okay with it, feeling that that's the place that you're meant to be living from, even though you've been separated from it for so long, because the abuse that's been perpetuated in you, the abuse that you've been in contact with, the front line of being constantly battling it. Once you really are able to see that clearly, and oftentimes it comes from the separation from all that and realizing I don't need to live there, you really begin to own it and then live from that space and feel the healing in that space, and then make your decisions from that healing space. And even though you can't, explain it logically, you begin then to carry that with you and then live accordingly. And it's a much higher vibration. It's a much greater, more powerful state of being than the depression, anxiety that tends to zap you of your energy, zap you of your functioning, zap you of your understanding, and zap you of relationships. Living in that tends to really, it tends to overwhelm and conquer your whole life. You can no longer be, the person that you're meant to be. It robs you of your destiny if you're constantly living in that self-doubt, that depression, that anxiety. That's why I always say, your depression is not the real you. The real you is the one who is on a quest for that independence, that wholeness, that integrity, in owning your own perception. And oftentimes the narcissist or the psychopath is wanting you to live in that altered reality, which is the fear, the guilt, the obligation. They want you to live in that. They want you to perpetuate that. But once you see clearly, you're done with the narcissist. You're done with being under their control. You're done with being manipulated by them. You're done living, codependent to them. You're living in your own personal power. You are at one with it. You are it. You are your own identity. And oftentimes, living your reality is in direct contradiction to what they want you to be. So that's why it's really, truly important to realize that these people who will take advantage of you and exploit you and manipulate you, it's contradicting your own reality. It's contradicting your identity. They don't embrace you for who you are. They can't validate you for who you are. They're lacking in their personality, in their deficit. They're not able to embrace you for the true you, which is ridiculous. I mean, why? So, they would sooner wish to exploit you and abuse you. So if that is their role for you, and you know that your role is one of wholeness and integrity, and that's where your personal power is, that's how you support yourself. That is how you live. That is your joy. That is your bliss. That is your true identity. So that is really what the narcissist has been separating you from. So that oneness, that living in acknowledgement and embracing your true self, is where you truly deserve to live. So I want you to really understand that, and I know that this is a long video, but I hope you can play this again and again and again, and really, we're going to visit this space because that's really where you need to exist. It's meant to be lived and experienced first. So that oneness, that love, that feeling of freedom, that feeling of joy, that feeling of safety, okayness, and that you're not, constantly living in a battle, constantly not living in a conflict. That is where you need to exist from in those brainwave states, the delta states, the theta states, which are slower and experiential in nature. Those are the feelings of safety that I want you to exist in, and you cultivate that through meditation, through really existing and being, and then those feelings begin to emanate, and your self-belief begins to emanate from that, and that being then begins to direct your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts about yourself, your beliefs, and then your affirmations begin to become part of that. So it's really changing from the inside core, the unconscious, out. And you have to really begin to feel that, live that, and have that permeate your body, because then it redirects your DNA, it directs the feeling that you experience in your limbs. It really, it directs, it's your heart base, it's your center of your heart, which is really more powerful than the brain. The heart has extreme amount of electrical energy. And when you are able to open that up and live in that heart, which you have been denied that space, you've been denied living there when you're under the cycle of abuse. You've been denied living in the heart space. You haven't been able to live there. It's been shut down. It's been closed down. It's been insulted. It's been, negated. You haven't been able to live there and receive there. So really quite a degree of the healing has to begin in really receiving in the heart space, and living that on a perpetual basis, visiting that on a daily basis. And, so we talk about the healing gift. We talk about, having something in your environment that reminds you that you're healed. It's very important for you then to pick up something that gives that in your reality, because your outer reality is going to then begin to mirror your inner reality of healing. So if you can pick up something that really represents that internal healing to you and have that around you, it's very powerful, because it's going to serve as a constant reminder between the inner world of healing and the outer world of experiencing healing. And it's going to begin to resonate that and mirror that for you and solidify that healing for you. That's very important, because your outer world has to begin to reflect your inner world. That has to become more congruent. And likewise, the people in your life are going to begin to reflect that and be attuned to that and be congruent with that. So, I really want this to be a focus, and I really want you to develop those tools of living that wholeness, embracing your healed self, and have your self-belief really emanating and charging your entire life. Meaning charging with energy, charging with attunement, charging with harmony, that you are that, and you are not, really all the identity that the abuser has tried to create or project into you, but it's more a reality that is charged from the inside out. And begin to develop these sort of feelings and experiences in your recovery journal. Write about them. Begin to really explore those in embracing that in your environment, through your recovery date, meaning taking that whole and healed person out, and really beginning to develop and expand a new reality coming from that space. And also that recovery gift, giving yourself something that helps remind you of who you are, remind you of your state of bliss, remind you of your state of wholeness, remind you of your state of happiness. And that is your true identity, and that is your personal power. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.